This is InvestorIdeas.com, and we are talking today with Eric Lundgren, CEO of IT Asset Partners, or ITAP, and a major proponent of hybrid recycling. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. So what is hybrid recycling?
Well, hybrid recycling is a new type of recycling that we're performing here in the United States. It's been going on in China for about 6 years now. It's the reuse of the parts and components within a broken piece of electronics.
Tell us a bit about how ITAP started and how it works.
Well, I ran a recycling company in the United States called ECA Company, Environmental Computer Associates, which sold to Waste Management. And after selling the company, I realized the inefficiencies in recycling. So I flew to China and ended up going to visit, but stayed for 5 years. And while in China for 5 years, I kind of learned how the Chinese process electronics, and it's very different to how we process electronics in America. In America, we're grinding things down and smelting them for the raw commodity values like lead and copper and steel and plastic. But in China, they're going after the parts and components that are still working in electronics. They're testing those parts and components, and then they're reintegrating them into new electronics, especially when the technology hasn't improved since the old. So, for example, taking a laptop with a bad screen and reusing the batteries, the North and South Bridge chipsets, the ICs, the NAND flash, and the hard drive. And those applications that you reuse them in, they're applications that are away from the laptop sector. So, in other words, you'd be reusing them in toys and tools. A big hybrid recycling solution would be taking an old cell phone and all the parts inside of that old cell phone, you can actually convert them into a video doorbell unit. And although the old cell phone isn't really desirable in our society, that video doorbell unit is the new hottest electronics gadget that everybody wants for their smart homes. IT Asset Partners is the only hybrid recycler in the United States. There's about 5,300 regular recyclers that deal with these scrap commodities in the United States, like plastic and aluminum and copper. And they'll recycle anything from your car to home appliances such as your oven and microwave, all the way over to consumer electronics and computer electronics. My company focuses only in the consumer and computer electronics realm. And our goal is to try to reuse all of the parts and components in these electronics that are not broken, are not proprietary, and can be reused to save the environment. It makes no sense to throw away a perfectly good working battery just to manufacture the exact same product again. The carbon footprint of doing so is just a waste.
So in April, you broke the world record for electric vehicle range in your recycled car, the Phoenix. If you could briefly explain how you were able to do that and kind of what went into it.
We wanted to demonstrate what hybrid recycling was. And the best way to do so is to beat world records. So on a micro scale, we are taking 18650 batteries and other lithium-ion batteries, and we are reusing them for cell phone chargers. So if you ever go to a gas station and you buy a cell phone charger, it's most likely one of mine that's been repurposed from your old phone to charge your new phone. The whole purpose here is that the past can power our future, and we don't need to hurt the environment by remanufacturing something that we already have. We just want to reuse what we already have for its utilitarian value, hence hybrid recycling. So then taking that to a macro scale, we decided to build this car. And from start to finish, we built the car in 35 days. So this isn't a lot of prior planning, you could say. Mm-hmm. We took laptop batteries. We took batteries from cable boxes from Time Warner. We took batteries from EVs, such as LG Chem Cell packs. And we mixed all of these chemistries together in different packs and put them in series and parallel in a single car. And we built the largest repurposed battery pack that's ever been put in an automobile for any EV. We used a E39 BMW frame. We stripped the frame and kept the two seats, and basically the entire back, we just filled it full of batteries. Now, 88+% of this car by weight is literally consumer trash. It's everything that consumers thought was garbage. And what we wanted to show was that your old garbage could actually be the newest, best, hottest technology out there. So we repurposed all of these batteries, and we repurposed a electric motor, an AC 51 series motor, and we repurposed all of the other parts of the car, the controller. The actual car itself was physically dragged out of a scrapyard before it went into a shredder to get crushed and shredded and turned into steel value. So out of repurposing all of this, we decided to just test it out and run it against all of the major electric vehicles that are currently offered today. And we ran it against the Chevy Bolt and the Nissan Leaf and the Tesla, and we hadn't tested it. It was the maiden voyage, the first run of this Phoenix, and we decided to film it at the last moment. And surprisingly, it ended up beating all of these cars. It set the new world record at 340 miles. This is a highway speed record, so again, this isn't hypermiling at 20 miles an hour. This is 70 miles an hour on the freeway. And the reason why we wanted to go ahead and do that is because that's how people want to drive. People don't want to drive. People don't drive 20 miles an hour, so setting a record at that is kind of irrelevant, if you ask me. Practically putting, I would say the vehicle that we built is a vehicle that anybody could build, and it just kind of shows what's possible in the EV realm. And it also demonstrates hybrid recycling, which is our passion at ITAP.
People often conflate environmentalism and green technologies with state intervention in the market, whether that's through taxes or subsidies or types of regulation. What it sounds like you're talking about with hybrid recycling, though, is that the merits are pretty evident, and it's a lot cheaper and so forth. So, are you confident that it can compete in the market without any sort of government incentive?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that. With my first recycling company, we really wanted to go to the corporate sector and to consumers and tug on heartstrings saying, donate and recycle because it's the right thing to do. That was at a younger age. Now I thoroughly realize that a consumer who buys an electronic device doesn't want to have to pay to get rid of it. And I can't blame them. And corporations, well, they care about profits for their shareholders. And I can't blame them either. So we really built a new mousetrap here. Hybrid recycling is the first solution that's able to pay consumers and pay companies for their waste. Every other solution prior charged consumers and charged companies. And we are highly profitable while paying for the waste. So the proof's in the pudding. When the companies that I work with currently, prior to working with ITAP, they were paying millions of dollars to dispose of their hazardous materials. And today we're paying them millions of dollars to allow us to process these hazardous materials into new electronics and then reintegrate those new electronics into society for a positive impact in the world. So yes, it's a standalone. It doesn't take we're not looking for donations. We're actually looking to pay for this waste.
So what was it for you personally that got you interested in doing this?
Well, I love efficiency, and I love efficient solutions. And my whole purpose in life is to build efficient solutions that help people. I truly believe in the win-win of being able to produce a product or a service that is needed in society and helps the world while being successful yourself and benefiting your company. I think that's possible as long as we think outside the box and we innovate and we create real solutions rather than just solutions of the past. I want to create the solutions of the future.
InvestorIdeas.com reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website. All investment involves risk, and this podcast is not meant to be an endorsement to buy or sell securities or products. To hear more podcasts, you can go to www.investorideas.com/audio. And a reminder, you can also hear our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and Stitcher.